Welcome to Thematics at Goldman Sachs. I'm Tom Lydon with ETF Trends, and in this series we dive into actively managed thematic funds and how they fit in your client portfolios. On this episode, we'll be speaking with Laura Destribats, portfolio manager for the Goldman Sachs Future Consumer Equity ETF, ticker symbol GBUY, GBUY. Laura, welcome. It's great having you.
Tom, thanks so much for the time. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about the strategy behind GBUY.
Yeah, for sure. So look, if you take a step back, millennials and Gen Z are about to become the world's most powerful consumer force. So they're starting to move into the workplace, they're climbing up the corporate ladder, and as a result, they're earning more and more income. And as they spend this income, they're going to be the biggest drivers of growth for many corporations around the globe. And so what we've tried to do is identify which are going to be the groups of companies that are going to benefit from this the most from a thematic perspective. And then within that, identify the best companies to give our investors exposure to.
So even though I'm a baby boomer, I'm on my way out. Is that what you're saying?
Well, just because, there are 2.3 billion millennials, just to take that demographic cohort to give you some numbers, and 1.2 billion baby boomers, you are, I'm sorry to say, somewhat outnumbered. And so whilst, of course, you've had a lot more time to save, baby boomers, because of their sheer number and size as that demographic cohorts, are representing a larger consumer force today.
Okay, all right. It's consistent with what I'm hearing. Talk about some of the themes. What are some of the themes that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so if you think about what makes those demographic cohorts different, right? Young consumers, they're, for the first part, the generation of digital natives. We've grown up with access to our mobile phone, constant access to information. It's influenced what we buy, how we buy it, how we communicate, etc. So there's going to be a number of sub-themes under that vertical, things from e-commerce, to fintech, to entertainment and gaming, etc. And then the second piece of it is that young consumers will also have different values and different lifestyle preferences. So to give you a few examples, we have a different approach to things like health and wellness. We prioritize spending on experiences versus solely material goods. And then we care very much about sustainability in the environment. And so that also affects our consumer behaviors.
Yeah, so when you talk about things like luxury goods, it's not necessarily like the traditional Tiffany's, for example. There's a whole different group of luxury goods for those generations, right? So
definitely they attribute a lot more value to things like experiences. So you can think about like leisure, travel, going to a concert, right? That's spend that they're going to prioritize. But one exception to that is goods that are on the high end of the spectrum. So like luxury products, which is what you alluded to, where we're seeing millennials have a very high propensity to spend, particularly actually if you look outside of your traditional markets, you look at, Asia, we have a very strong growing middle class. A lot of those individuals are going to be buying luxury consumer goods for the first time. And so actually we are seeing millennials and young consumers continue to be a very strong driving force for luxury goods in particular. And that's true worldwide, obviously Asia being an important driver, but also in the US.
Yeah, and this is, as you point out, not just US stocks, these are global stocks. And how different are these experiences that these generations, for example, or products from country to country or from continent to continent?
Yeah, so you're right. It absolutely is, a global phenomenon. And so from our perspective, we want to make sure that we're considering opportunities across the globe. Now, there are a lot of similarities, as you can imagine, but the stage of development of those opportunities can be different depending on the region. So if we take a step back and think about the fact that obviously young consumers are spending more and more online, meaning that they've been the big drivers of growth for anything linked to e-commerce. And then you look at that e-commerce penetration in different parts of the world, and in the US, it'll be closer to 20%. But then you think about a region of the world like Latin America, and it'll be significantly lower. So still around 9-10%. So if you think about the runway for growth today, it's much longer in Latin America than it is even in the US, whilst we believe it's going to grow everywhere. And so that opportunity set that you're presented with as an investor can be quite different and interesting for different reasons. And so thinking of it through that global lens, we think is really meaningful.
Talk briefly about your team. You run it kind of like a boutique where different groups handle different industry groups. Is that right?
No, so we run the fund. So there are three portfolio managers. The three of us run the portfolio very much together. It's myself and an individual called Alexis de la Derrière. We're based here together in New York. And then our partner, Nathan Lin, who's based out in Hong Kong. We alluded to the fact that we invest across emerging markets as well. So having Nathan's expertise as part of the team is really important. But even more importantly than just the three of us is we're part of a group of 80 plus fundamental equity investors that are based all around the globe. And all those individuals are contributing ideas to the funds.
Laura, this has been great. Listen, congratulations on GBUY. We look forward to hearing more from you in the future. And thanks for grabbing time with me. I'm heading back to the nursing home to get my afternoon nap.
Thanks, Tom. Great to speak.
Take care.